everyone, welcome back into the video. So, Monday night, as I was going to bed, something crazy happened. As I was, like I said, as I was going to sleep, major leaks started coming out of nowhere as a result of the whole Microsoft FTC trial. That included the realization that Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be exclusive. Like, no, duh. But besides that, we got a whole bunch of information. Now, Phil Spencer did come out. Before we talk about the actual information, I want to talk about something really fast, because obviously the Xbox team saw all of this, and Phil actually kind of put out a statement. Here's what he said: "We've seen the conversation around old emails and documents. It is hard to see our team's work shared in this way because so much has changed, and there's so much to be excited about right now. In the future, we will share the real plans when we are ready." So keep that in mind, folks, as we talk about this. It's still interesting to talk about, despite that some of this, may not come true and that so much of it has changed. So it's still pretty fascinating to talk about. So without further ado, we're going to first start off with something that, you remember those, how typically there's a console refresh, usually, like we're like slimmer or something like that? Well, because Series X is getting a refresh, it's just not going to be as more capable, as this document shows. So as you can see here, here's what it looks like. It looks like one of those Apple Macs. You remember how back then Apple used to do that? It also kind of looks like an Alexa. That's another comparison I've seen. But anyway, it's codenamed Brooklyn. Xbox Series X refresh, the most powerful Xbox ever, now adorably all digital. Oh boy, that caused an uproar because of the whole game preservation, topic. Anyway, Brooklyn will deliver a 4K Gen 9 console game with more internal storage, faster Wi-Fi, reduced power, a more immersive controller, and a beautiful redesign that elevates the all-digital experience of the Xbox ecosystem, giving our fans more to love. Beautiful and innovative new design, more internal storage for games, USB-C front port with power delivery, all new more immersive controller at the same great price, $499. Now, I was hoping that, it should be cheaper, because that historically has been the case with, consoles. When, like little refreshes come in, whenever they're, slimmer and whatnot, they usually are cheaper than what the console originally was, but not this generation. Man, this console generation is very, very weird. But anyway, continuing on. Update technologies. All new South Bridge to modernize I/O and sustainability efforts. Wi-Fi 6E radio for better throughput, latency and interference mitigation. Bluetooth 5.2 radio for improved accessory experiences. 6nm die shrink for the improved efficiency. For those who don't know, the die shrink that's in our Series X and S right now, it's the same one that's in the Xbox One generation. So same way with this new version of the Series X, they're changing that. Improve sustainability story. Reduce PSU power by 15%. New low power standby mode is 20% of the current Series S standby mode. Increase use of PCR and housing to 30%. 100% recyclable packaging. And that's it for the, console refresh. I know the sticking point people have is, whether it's going to improve performance or not. And based on this document, this kind of matched up with Philips in the past that they don't have plans for a more powerful Series X, and that they're saying that the Series X itself is the mid-gen refresh, while I guess the Series S is like the basic one, I guess. But yeah, there it is. I guess that they're coming out with a slimmer Series X. All digital. They're getting rid of that disk drive. I'm telling you, if you're a console gamer, if next generation there might not even be a disk drive. But who knows though? Maybe Microsoft sees all the feedback they're getting from this, and maybe they include like a disk drive as an option with this, which I'm not sure how they could. Maybe they had to kind of alter the design somehow. Again, these documents are. Some of them are outdated, so maybe the design of the refresh has changed or whatnot. But again, who kind of knows, but maybe they pivot after the feedback, because, boy, this caused a big outrage. So, among the whole physical versus digital conversation picked up again. I kind of got in on it, a little bit. But anyway, enough of the actual, refresh. Now that they mentioned the controller. Well, what does the controller look like? What new features does this controller have? Well, let's find out. Cerebral, the new Xbox controller. The world's best controller now playing on the screen near you. Unity Play Anywhere, Xbox Wireless 2, Direct to Cloud, Bluetooth 5.2, Seamless Parent Switch, new mobile app features, the parent device in the cloud, manage device and accessories, immersion. Feel the game. Precision haptic feedback, VCA haptics, double as speakers, accelerometer, quieter buttons, and thumbsticks. Sustainability, do good, feel good, rechargeable and swappable battery, recycled materials and less recent, repair and disassembly, durable and reliable, new modular thumbsticks, improve longevity, continue to build improvements, approachability, engage the daylight, live to wake. A familiar Xbox feels ergonomics as Merlin, I guess that's a code name for the controller that we have right now. Same layout and activation forces, SE/ELE, the external options expected. I have no idea what that even means. Regarding the controller, I mean, yeah, I guess this controller's got a gyro. I guess that was a big thing, so, people are hoping that, the Xbox should have their version of gyro, and I guess they're doing that here. And the haptic feedback, obviously, that was something, that Sony did with the DualSense. So, and I like the DualSense controller. It's not bad. It's not bad. So, it's a good thing here that Microsoft seemingly is trying to do the same thing, I guess, Regarding the actual look of the controller, it's certainly interesting to have like a half black, half white look for it. Very curious to see how much this thing is going to cost when this inevitably comes out, whenever it does. But, yeah, kind of very interesting. So, now then, before we move on to the next gen, because those leaks about their plans for next gen, I want to talk about something that has caused quite a stir, too, as a result of these leaks. Well, as it turns out, Microsoft still wants to, acquire Nintendo, because remember, this was a thing that happened way back when, and these emails were in 2020, so let's have a look then, shall we? Without the catalyst, I don't see an angle to a near-term mutual agreement merger of Nintendo and Microsoft, and I don't think a hostile action would be a good move. I support the long game, but our BOD has seen the full write-up on Nintendo Valve, since I fully support on either, if the opportunity rises, as am I. This discussion at value, looking at the opportunities here. At some point, getting Nintendo will be a career moment, and I honestly believe a good move for both companies. It's just taken a long time for Nintendo to see that their future exists, all of their hardware. A long time, Phil. Yeah. So, here's the thing though. It's never gonna happen, okay? Them buying Nintendo, it's not gonna happen. Like, Nintendo's leadership, they have no interest in being bought out. And second of which, there'll be like a huge major change. Nintendo is killing it. The Switch is like a license to print money, so like they have no freaking reason. Like with Nintendo being back on top with the Switch, they have no freaking reason to. And with them coming out with a Switch 2 next year, they have no reason to sell to anybody. And I prefer that they don't, because having a competitor taken off of the console market is not a good look. It would be a bad move. So I don't want Nintendo to be bought by anybody, whether it's Sony, Microsoft, anyone. Anybody. I don't want that. Now, Valve, though, now partnerships, I can see that. Hey, maybe Microsoft could publish the PC version of Nintendo's games, huh? So, kind of like how Sony, doesn't do D&D as of right now, but as for Valve, why not just do a partnership like where Game Pass is on Steam? I mean, I've talked about this before, so long ago. It would be a no-brainer move, because Steam is the most popular distribution store on PC in terms of PC gaming. It just makes perfect sense, and people don't generally like the Microsoft Store. It's not very good, because I remember I was using that for Starfield, and what's funny, the day before Starfield released, it screwed up so bad that I had to uninstall Starfield and essentially wait for the Steam version to get my copy from E&D for Steam. So for the Steam version of Starfield, I had to literally wait and start all the way over on PC because of Microsoft Store. Thanks, Microsoft, for having a shitty store. Oh my god. Sheesh, man. I love Starfield, but boy, man, Microsoft Store, yeah, it's terrible. It's really bad. But, yeah, partnerships make way more sense than freaking acquisitions. Like I said before, the whole monopoly talk, them buying Nintendo would be a true monopoly, because that would be taking a competitor off the market completely. So, partnerships is way hella more likely than an acquisition. It would be beneficial to both companies in the long run, if you ask me. But enough of the whole acquisition thing. Let's get to the actual, next-gen console thing, because boy, this one, I'd say the one that stuck out to me the most, personally, which is there's been, documents that detail what Microsoft wants to do in terms of their next generation console, which is coming out in 2028, as it's seen here. Cohesive Hybrid Compute, developing next-generation hybrid gaming platform capable of leveraging the combined power of the client and cloud to deliver deeper immersion and entirely new classes of gaming experiences optimized for real-time gameplay and creators. We will enable new levels of performance beyond the capabilities of the client hardware alone. Key strategic decision investments, CPU. Seems like they would be debating between ARM64 versus Zen x64, which is, most PC gamers like myself use, x64 or x86 architecture. Heck, the consoles that we have right now from Sony and Microsoft use x86. CPU, balance of big / little CPU cores. GPU, co-design with AMD or license the AMD IP, Navi 5. So again, they would work with AMD again. Balancing desire for flexible, programmable machine learning silicon versus high-performance silicon for targeted workloads. Forward compatibility, so I assume like everything would carry over, like it kind of did this generation for the most part. Next gen DirectX ray tracing, dynamic global illumination, micro polygon rendering optimizations, machine learning based super resolution, extensibility model for faster iteration and innovation, ThinOS, lacking ThinOS for 99 consumer or handheld devices. Now that last part, that makes me think that they're probably going to be doing like cloud devices, because there's been rumors of like a whole cloud thing that would be, based around that, like codename Keystone, if you all remember that. So that ended up getting, I believe it was canceled or something like that. I don't know, or it was there was a whole thing with that. I can't even remember, but anyway, so sound like they would try that again with the next generation and a handheld thing. So like a ThinOS, I guess maybe they could use that for like a handheld. I know that there's been prototypes of like handhelds over the years of a handheld Xbox system, but it never really panned out, as we now know. And people have been asking for a portable Xbox platform for years. So now whether it will be a cloud or native, who really knows? But even then, like they said, some of these documents are outdated or so much has changed, so who kind of knows with the whole thing though, because there was actually an image like where it showed like various devices that they were planning, and the handheld was one of them. So I guess we'll see what happens with that one, but yeah, I guess we'll see with that. But anyway, continuing. Each generation of Xbox also brought new innovations to Microsoft. First one, Xbox Live and DirectX innovation. 360, Connect and the digital media /storefront. 2013, Xbox Security Processor, Game Pass, and DirectX Innovation. Series X and S, current generation. Project X Cloud, Direct Storage, and DFA/manufacturing. I don't know what that means. And for the next generation, which is what we're talking about, cloud hybrid games, immersive game /app platform. Now, the whole hybrid thing, maybe they're talking about something like where, say if you're playing it through the cloud, you get more detailed environments or something like that, like Microsoft Simulator does. But if you're like playing it offline, then maybe it's just like a more native version, kind of like how we have now, where it may not be as detailed, but it's still playable. So maybe that's what they're talking about, or it could be like a Crackdown 3 situation where it blows up in the entire face, and hopefully, it's not like an always online thing like they tried with the Xbox One and for it to blow up in their face. But hopefully it doesn't come to that, because that's not a good idea. So I don't want that. I don't think anybody wants that, but it would be very interesting to see how like PC supports on Microsoft's games would come if they truly stick to this, I guess thing they want to do with this whole cloud hybrid thing. So who really knows how that would work for PC versions of these games? So very interesting, to even, kind of speculate about. But anyway, continuing. The key functional enablers for this vision: cohesive hybrid compute, cloud to edge architecture across silicon, graphics, and OS enabling, I can't say that word, play, AI and machine learning enablement, optimization, acceleration for game performance, iteration and development for players and creators, create a platform, open extensive game and immersive app development platform. So obviously AI and machine learning is going to be a thing, because that's not just a gaming thing. AI is this huge thing right now in terms of just technology in general. So it kind of makes sense that a tech company like Microsoft would use it for, I guess, gaming as well. should they kind of go that route? Again, it kind of makes sense that they would do that. Finally, next generation gaming powered by AI and machine learning game performance, super resolution dual network, frame rate interpolation. So like frame rate gen, like we see on PC right now. XCloud latency compensation, game space AI agents, codecs and RL learning, machine matchmaking, player ranking, AI game testing, procedural content generation, kind of like how some games already do. Physics as inverse kinematics, NLP dialogue generation, player service, safety and toxicity, personalization discovery, support services, live ops, engagement, retention management, monetization improvement, cloud resource optimization. So you kind of get the whole thing though. So that's kind of it. That's everything that. So again, this is all again like a lot of this, possibly has changed, like Phil was saying. So don't take this like we're set in stone. And some of this, obviously could still be in their plans for all we know. But I don't know. It's so interesting to even talk about this because the video game industry is so volatile. It changes so freaking much. Like one generation Nintendo's on top, the next generation Sony's on top, or in one generation Microsoft was on top for most of it. Like we saw with the 7th generation in terms of 360 versus PS3. The PS3 did catch up at the very end, but you kind of get my point though. Like the industry is always changing, so I guess we'll see what happens with this whole thing. But either way though, very interesting to talk about. There is one more thing that I want to mention. That there was a couple of documents. There was a document out there about Bethesda games. I'll talk about that in my next video, because I wanted to focus mainly on hardware things in this video, since that's what majority of it was about. So I kind of want to do that though. But yeah, until then, very interesting stuff. I'm curious to see what you guys think about all this. So yeah, very interesting. So I guess we'll see what happens in Microsoft's future when it comes to gaming. But I guess we'll see. Anyway, that's it for me. What do you guys think? Let me down in the comment section below. And if you like this video, hit the like button and consider hitting that sub button to not miss any more videos. And I'll see you on the next one. Until then, have a good one.